Hey, Amy,
Yeah, Juan.
give me that beat.
It's Baseball Shangri-La with Amy Cuevas and Juan Ramirez.
What's up, party people? And welcome to another episode of Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amy Cuevas, and I am Juan Ramirez. Make sure you're following us on the social media so you can get updates when we drop episodes. So far, I think we've been doing Tuesday, right, Amy? But sometimes we drop on a Monday, right? So that's why it's important that you need to follow us on social media.
Depends on how big the news is and how quickly we can get to our computers. So
Yeah, that's pretty much. We're going to pull back the curtain and we're going to let you guys know. But that's pretty much what happens. Is Amy and I just shoot each other text messages. You want to record? Can you do it now? Can you do it later? What time? When are we doing this? So that's why it's important. Follow us on X at BB Shangri-La, Instagram, Threads, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. If you're watching us on the YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel and leave us comments on the YouTube channel. We've gotten some ratings, which we really appreciate on the audio format. I saw some on Spotify and on Apple, and it was all fives. I love it. Keep giving us fives. We love it, guys.
hey, I will say for as we're kind of shifting into this episode, we did have this one scheduled. It's almost like I knew we'd have big news. Just saying.
Yeah, we're going to get into that big news here because for those of you who don't know, this is going to be the Amy show. So I'm just going to get in whatever words I can get in right now before Amy takes over. But we're going to start the show the way we start all our shows, and that's with some base running blunders. Amy, I know I have a base running blunder, and I want to go ahead and address it. So on our last episode, while I was defending my honor as not being a movie snob or an elitist, and admitting that I, in public, went to go see the major motion picture Alligator in the movie theater. There was one semi base running blunder. I caught myself. I had called him Robert Foster, but then I said it's Forster, and it is. It's Robert Forster is the lead actor in Alligator, which I think is an underappreciated performance. But I had said that it was the 40th anniversary, and I was wrong. It was not the 40th anniversary of Alligator because Alligator came out in 1980. They were celebrating the 4K release, of Alligator. That's right. This movie, you'd be able to see it on 4K if you have one of those 4K devices. So that's my base running blunder. Amy, do you have any?
I do. I'm just gonna say 1980 was a stellar year. But yeah, mine was more of a just mixing up my words and it bugged me. I know nobody probably cares, but when we were talking about the clip from Theosker, I said that had a 30-minute section and it was really 30 seconds. Again, not huge, but it bugged me that, I'm out there advertising that he had a 30-minute thing out there that he didn't. So that's
I
all.
love the way you're selling it too, by the way, a 30-minute thing. And everybody's like, what's
Oh
she
yeah, the
talking about?
thing. So Theosker did the thank you, Juan. This is where your journalism, your broadcasting degree really comes into play. Uh he had done a recording for the Los Angeles Dodgers on picture day or photo day, and so they initially released like a 20-second, 30-second version of it where he's teaching Spanish to Shohei Otani and Yamamoto, and then they later released like a minute 36 clip of it. So I just biffed the timing on there.
There's no biffing here. Okay, so let's get into it because there was a lot of news. So at the time we're recording this, it's Monday night. So I don't know when you guys are going to be listening to it, but there was a lot of news today. And so Monday morning, we first get the news and the grumblings that Manuel Margot has been scratched from the Dodgers lineup. And everybody's kind of like, Now, and then we find out that Manuel Margot is getting traded to the Twins.
That moment is when I went and lit my candle in the hopes that it meant we were going to get Kiké later. I just want to let you know, I lit my candle right when we found out. Go on.
All right. So for those of you who don't know, she literally has this candle that she lit because all of a sudden Amy is going to the higher, what is it, the baseball gods? Is that who you were trying to communicate with?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we get that news, and then it turns out that it's just a deal for prospects. So not only did the Dodgers trade Manuel Margot, but along with Manuel Margot was how do you pronounce his name? Is this going to be another base running blunder for me? Is it Ryan or Rain?
It looks like Rain. Rain
Okay.
Duncan? I don't know.
Rain Locon, who from the research that I've done is a shortstop prospect that looks like he can't hit. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with, I mean, I think it was the worst kept secret that the Dodgers were trying to trade Manuel Margot. And I feel bad for this poor guy because it was obvious that the only reason why the Dodgers got Manuel Margot is so they could get Tyler Glass now. So I mean, we spent the last episode talking about how the energy's in the clubhouse and everybody's so happy to be there. And then you finally see Manuel Margot, and he didn't seem to have the same exuberance, right, Amy?
Well, I mean, if like you said, if it's the worst kept secret and you're just waiting to hear if you're being shopped around, not a great feeling. I mean, I feel like he's still in the little video clip that we saw. I feel like he contributed in it. I don't think he was like a Debbie Downer or anything, but I'm sure that's got to loom large over you if you know that the front office is kind of looking to trade you.
When that Tyler Glasnow trade happened, Amy, do you think? I know Brandon Gomes was sitting there telling everybody that they thought Margot was a great fit and they were very excited about the things that Margot was bringing to the team. But do you think that behind closed doors they had a conversation with Margot saying, "Hey, man, we're going to try to find some other place for you so you can play every day because here, it would be more of a platoon." Do you think that conversation took place?
I mean, it might have. They kind of alluded to it in one of the athletic articles today about, how they'd been looking unsuccessfully to move him all off season. And so I was reading up, so he had that $12 million salary to cover. So Tampa was eating 2 million of it. And then with this trade, LA is still going to eat about 6 million. And then the Twins are going to take on 4. So with that in mind, it sounds like they were trying to move those chips all along. And then if they couldn't, obviously we have another outfielder. So I don't think they lost in any way. I think they won because it worked out. But I mean, they weren't going to be hurting if we kept him.
And so the Dodgers end up getting a shortstop prospect. Now, I think what's been happening here, I think it's been very clear that shortstop is an area of weakness in the Dodgers organization, particularly in the minor league system. And now in this offseason, they have made some trades, I think, that are somehow trying to address the depth at shortstop in the minor league system. Sweeney, who they got from the Yankees, is a shortstop, and Noah Miller is who they got from the Minnesota Twins. Now, everything I've read on Noah Miller is defensively, he's a really good shortstop. Of course, the question is now, can he hit? And there was a day and age in baseball where the shortstop was really, hey, man, all you have to do is just play really good defense. That's all we need you to do. And then guys like Cal Ripken and Alex Rodriguez showed up, and all of a sudden shortstops are expected to hit. So we will see what happens, how Noah Miller develops. I know immediately everybody was just like, the Dodgers are going to get another. They're going to steal something. And the thing is with the Dodgers is you just never know, right? When they get these prospects, are they developing or are they going to use them to flip and to get something else?
And would you say though that like even we've been spoiled in the last couple of years at shortstop, kind of going back to what you were just saying about, they need to be defensively and offensively ready in the game. I mean, we had Corey Seager who came up through the system, and then we got Trey Turner at the deadline. I think for quite a few years we've been spoiled at that position, and then right when we get ready to have Lux, he has that injury last season. So it's definitely been kind of a revolving door since then, but I think we've been a little bit spoiled in that regard.
And we'll see, because we're going to get into Gavin Lux later on in this episode. But I mean, the verdict is still out, because it is still one of the main positions out on that diamond. And yes, a bat is great, but you still need your shortstop to be able to make plays and, play the position defensively and play it well. So what I thought was interesting was, of course, the minute this trade happens, all the conspiracy theories start coming out, and this was happening simultaneously. And I know you probably were pulling a total, like, what is that show, that Charlie Day clip when he's all conspiracy theory, and because all this stuff is happening at the same time. Okay. Margot gets traded to the Twins. Now, the Twins were rumored to be one of the teams that was in on Kiké. And Kiké was supposed to make his decision on Monday. And not only that, but then Kiké had posted on his social media a second goodbye to the Dodgers, right? So it's like, what's happening here? And then all of a sudden, I saw David Vassay's tweet where it was like, well, trading Margot, could this open up a possibility of getting Kiké? Now, all off season long, I have been saying there's no way they're going to get Kiké.
I know you have. I have had to hold the faith all by myself over here, letting you know we are going to get him back. And no, my rainy day friend over there.
I'm going to be honest. I did not see this coming. Not only did I not see them getting him, but they got him for $4 million, Amy.
Wouldn't you sign for $4 million if you could play with the people on this team, though? Like,
do you think that's what it came down to? Was that he wanted to stay here and he wanted to win? I know that old tweet of his came up where he sent it to Ohtani saying, "Hey man, I'll do this for you." Because if you believe, and we don't know if any of this is true, but allegedly the Giants were in on him, the Padres were in on him, the Angels were in on him. And part of me has to think he had to have received a multiple year offer from one of those teams, right?
Okay, but if we put our Kiké hat on, if I'm
I know you're gonna put on your whole banana suit right now.
I have one. I wore it for Halloween a couple years ago. I will put it on. You're lucky I didn't show up to the show in it. I guess if I'm Kiké and let's say he got, I don't know, 10, 12 million offered. Would you take that to go play for the Angels, the Giants, the Padres, who, while they have been trying in previous years, have not been able to make it over the hump? Or do you take a pay cut to go play with the stellar roster that the Dodgers have, where a majority, like many of your friends are, in an organization that you already know and love? What's your decision? Do you at what point do the extra millions factor in? Or, I know I'm going to make a postseason run versus, I'm going to have extra money, but what's going to happen? That's kind of the Trout debacle, isn't it?
Well, that's what I find interesting, right? Because here I am. It's so hard for me to believe that someone would turn down millions of dollars, right? But it's the quality of life. It's so hard for me to believe that someone would actually make a decision based on quality of life as opposed to money. Like, maybe his wife was like, I want to stay in California. And this is assuming that Kiké lives in California. It's like, but everything that you just mentioned, I know this organization. I know how this organization runs. I want to win, and winning is the most important thing to me. But how old is your boyfriend now? Do you know?
He is not my boyfriend. He's married. He's 32.
Okay, he's 32. So this is the thing for me. I don't know how many more multiple year offers he's going to get, right? Because he's going to be 33 the next time he's a free agent, right? So is he already and look, we're going to get into this later on with Cody Bellinger. This is the only thing. He's already won a World Series. Kiké's won a World Series, right?
Then why not quit now? Well, I just don't even need to play baseball anymore.
Well, no, but it's not that. But it's like, maybe he's good with his money, And maybe, like you said, he doesn't need that much money to live a quality life. But again, for me, it's hard. And maybe a lot of people saw the season that he had last year, the years that he had with Boston, and maybe that money just wasn't there. And in my mind, because I see some of the ridiculous amounts of money that these players get, that I just assume, I thought for sure he would be making at least minimum of 10 million a year. But
Same.
maybe I overvalued Kiké.
I honestly, I would say that too. I was thinking he would get something on par of what Jay Hay got. So Jason Hayward got a $9 million 1-year contract. I was thinking Kiké would get something around there. He's more of a veteran player at this point. But I think it comes down to what your goals are. If your goal getting into baseball, and there's nothing wrong with this, by the way, is to earn as much money as you can before you quit and play some baseball, then that's your path is going to be different versus if my goal is to play, I don't want to say quality baseball because that kind of that deflects from the other path, right? But if it's to play quality baseball, I want to be on a winning team. I want to contend with the World Series as often as I can. I understand I can't control if I get traded, but I do have control over where I sign. At that point, yes, another 5 million would be great, but I'm not going to ever see that much money in my life. So yeah, I've got to work my day job, make sure I save and do all that other stuff. But if he's been making millions up to this point, at this don't you aren't you in it to win another World Series versus nothing against the Angels? Maybe they will make it there. Maybe, maybe they do have postseason aspirations and they can actually cash in on those. But where are your better odds? The team that does it every year or the team that tries to do it?
Look, I really am fighting against cynicism. I don't want to be that cynical person that is just like, no, it's all about money. In the end, you go where the money is. But we're already seeing these examples where, look, I can't use Ohtani as an example because in the end, he's still getting $700 million. But Yamamoto took less money, if you believe those stories, to come play for the Dodgers. And if that is the case, if this is the beginning of these players that are going to be playing supporting roles on this team, and I think even Max Muncy to a certain degree with him restructuring his deal and picking up an option.
CT3 took a pay cut a couple years ago too. I think last year, the year before, Chris Taylor took a pay cut. I'm not sure if Austin Barnes did too, but I think it comes down to what quality means to each of us. Me getting the bigger contract, that could be quality to me. Me personally, I mean, I've never been in this situation, so I can't say till I'm in it, but I would think that I would go the Kiké route. I would take the lesser money to be on the winning team because that's my goal. That would align with my goal structure. So it's whatever quality means to each of these guys, and that's going to be different on any given day, any given player.
And I know this is not apples to apples, but if you look at a guy like Chris Bryant, right? Like for me, it was a head scratcher when he took that deal with the Rockies, right? Because I'm looking at it as like, dude, you're never going to win with the Rockies, right? But he had already won with the Cubs, and that was probably more money than anybody else was willing to offer him. So I can't be mad at Chris Bryant because he took the money because he's now set for life. Right. And again, I think Chris Bryant is a better player than Kiké, right? So it's not apples to apples there.
How dare you, sir? How dare
Oh,
you?
oh, okay. Okay. I'm in trouble now, guys.
It's okay. You have stats to back it up. I'm just kidding.
I'm going to change the subject now. No, but it was interesting to hear Brandon Gomes sit there and say, Manuel Margot was great, but we just feel that Kiké Hernández was even a better fit with us than Manuel Margot was, which is true because I know that when I heard this when the Dodgers signed Hayward, everybody was hoping that money that went towards Hayward would have gone to Kiké because look, Roberts has already said that Kiké is going to be playing against left-handed pitching and that he's going to be playing center field, shortstop, and third base. So, and I don't think that was a surprise to anybody because that's what he did last year, right? So what's just surprised me was the fact that he was still available and that they were getting him for $4 million. And for me, what it seems like was, now we have to also realize this, that he's coming off of a double hernia surgery. So in terms of his health, I don't know how healthy he is. They're saying he's going to be ready for opening day. And opening day in Korea is what they're saying that he's going to be ready for. I find it interesting
But he's
that
not going to be an everyday player, though, either. So keep that in mind,
right.
too. He might be coming off the bench. He's going to be platooning. So it's not like we're expecting Freddie Freeman starts out of him every day of the year and you're going to have to fight him for a day off. So I think it will be a little bit different in that respect, too.
And maybe this is just the market correcting itself, right? That we're no longer going to see these ridiculous deals where players are getting overpaid and now they're getting more, because you're right. I mean, he's coming down. He played better with the Dodgers towards the end of the year, and he's a guy who's now basically a utility player, and it looks like he's accepting that role. So $4 million is the going rate for a utility player. But it just seems, and I don't know if it was just a coincidence of him recovering from his surgery or if he just waited it out. I mean, we're in spring training now. We're a week into spring training, and he had just signed a contract. So I don't know how much longer. And like I said he was going to make a decision by Monday. I know he's your boyfriend, but the way he misdirected the fans with his social media video.
Surprised, though. Are you surprised he misdirected the fans? Like, come on. even like if you were listening to the broadcast for the game, which I know we'll get into later, Freddie Freeman, when he was talking and they were asking him questions about like, hey, did you hear that Kiké's coming back? And is like, oh yeah, I talked to him before the game. Like he was like, they already like had. I feel like I don't think it was a plan through the whole off season, but maybe he was hoping, like many of us, that he would come back too. I mean, he's going to take the deal when it comes along.
He was. Yeah. I heard reports he was already in the Dodgers clubhouse today.
That's a relief. He's home.
I'm gonna before we segue to the next topic, I just want to give you your opportunity to glow, because one of our listeners, viewers, sent me a message today saying after the Kiké news broke, they were like, is the next episode just going to be a celebration for Amy? And I was like, yes, I'm going to let Amy have her celebration. She's been wanting this. For those of you listening on the audio, she's wearing her Kiké shirt right now. So take as much time as you like. The floor is yours, madam. Celebrate, go, say whatever you want to say about Kiké and how happy you are.
Oh, I've been celebrating all day. I have not been this happy since we got him at the trade deadline last year. I think probably one of the great moments was when I saw his tweet and it just, he put up there, sources say I'm back, first to break the news at myself. And it was just typical Kiké. In the baseball thread that I'm on, the minute that Margot got announced that he was being traded, like we were all in there like, do you think? No, maybe. I know it's so improbable to think. And then the news came through that we got him. And one of the guys on the chat was like, in a year that has been improbable. And it's just like the perfect way to have this Monday go. So that's all I'll say. I'm happy he's back. I've got my Kiké shirt on. I got my jersey ready to bust out. I'll wear that tomorrow. So it's just going to be a week of Kiké. So, all right, I'm done. I will not punish you guys any further.
I just explain to me, like, what is it that you love the most about? Because if you look at his numbers during the regular season, I don't want to go as far as to say that they are pedestrian, but what is it that you think is that he brings to this team that's so important, so vital, and why fans were so desperate to have him back?
I think it's a lot of things, and one of the things I won't say I get upset about it, but when people find out he's my favorite player, it's like, oh, of course he is. Look at him, and it's like it has nothing to do with that. That's a bonus. I love Kiké because I love the caliber player he is. I think he's underrated. Yeah, he doesn't have a 300 batting average, but the guy shows up every day. He works hard. He is a utility player. And in some cases, you do have some of those players on teams, but they can't quite fit the gap in each of those spots. I feel like he plays those positions well. And I mean, even coming from Boston last year, he came in and he raised his batting average from 222 to 262. I just on the field, I think he puts his heart into the game, and I think you can see that with the results that he gets. But I also think that his personality is some of that glue in the clubhouse. You will have some of those like Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts. They're going to be a little more serious. Those are going to be more of the paternal figures in there. Kike is going to bring that lightness that him and like Rojas have, and I think that that's necessary. There's a reason when he came back at the deadline and his numbers weren't great with Boston, but he got an ovation almost every time he walked up to the plate. And I think that just speaks to the kind of person he is, the caliber player he is. He's never going to be maybe, MVP, but he is going to play with his heart and soul. And I love that. I love that about him.
Listen to how crazy this clubhouse is going to be. You're going to have Kiké. You're going to have the Oscar Hernandez. You have the madness of Ohtani. I mean, this is just going to be a clubhouse that you hope that it is must-see television on the field, but it seems like the people managing the social media at the Dodgers must be loving life right now to know that they have Kiké coming back.
They're going to have to hire extra people just to like get all of these personalities. Like, I mean, if that Teoscar video that we saw last week was just a teaser of what's to come, just of those kind of behind the scenes, kind of getting to know our team stuff, I'm excited not only for the games that we're going to play, obviously, but just to get a peek at our guys. We don't always get to see their own side outside of the game, and I think this is going to give us that glimpse. Like, we're going to have a better shot at it this year than we would have any other year.
Before we go into the coverage of the actual spring training games, there are some pieces of news that I want to address very quickly. It was announced that Matt Kemp, former Dodger Matt Kemp, will be returning to the Dodgers organization in an advisory role. However, they did not specify what that role would be. But we already saw Andre Ethier is working with the Dodgers. In particular, he's working with Miguel Vargas out in left field. Amy, how do you feel to see these I don't want to say old, but these former players come back? Because I feel like a lot is made up of this fraternity, so to speak, but it's interesting because it's not all players are welcome back into the organization. But guys like Matt Kemp, who the Dodgers traded away twice.
This is his third time back, baby. Third time back.
I'm just curious, like, what role do you see him? Like, what can he provide to the Dodgers organization?
I think it is that leadership, though, and whoa, with these old players, he's still younger than both of us. So, I think it's more.
How dare you? How dare you?
Is he not? He's 39 years old.
I love the 80s. Okay, you continue.
I love the 80s too. I think he's going to provide that leadership. There's only so much that the Jay Hayes and everybody else in the clubhouse can do. This is where you're going to get those Ethiers, Kemps, all of those guys who are going to do that. They've also brought back Nelson Cruz, Chris Archer, Tyson Ross. So I was reading a stat that they were saying that the Dodgers have brought back all these guys in the last 12 months. I don't think the players are it's not detrimental to any of them. I think if anything, they're going to benefit from this information. Learning on the field, the game changes so quickly, but having that, I don't want to say historical perspective, but as the game has evolved each time, you're getting all those skill sets still in one place. I don't think you can go wrong.
And maybe it's stuff like this, these kind of moves. This is what separates the Dodgers when it comes to development.
It's just paving the way for Chase Utley when his kids are a little older, and JT when he wants to come back and be a manager. Just saying, just throwing that out there. I'm going to go light another candle.
All I'm saying, it'd be nice if the Dodgers brought back Pedro Guerrero. That's all I'm saying. If they want to bring back all these guys, Pedro Guerrero, anybody who saw that guy play, he was fantastic.
Want me to go light my candle after this? I got you.
Yeah, this powerful candle of yours. I mean, do you practice brujeria, or is this something I was just finding out on the show right now?
100%. I got you. My candle is lit this evening. We'll get Pedro.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you embrace that. one thing I do want before we start going into this other piece of news, but the Kiké thing, when the Margot trade first happened, I thought, wow, they may try to really make this Miguel Vargas in left field thing happen. And I know it's still very early in spring training, but
You keep
I
trying to
have not,
make fetch happen, Juan.
yeah, exactly. That's what it feels like. Miguel Vargas is fetch because I'm rooting for the guy, but it just seems so far in spring training, and I know it's a very small sample size, but I feel that this poor guy, especially now that the Dodgers got Kiké, he's going to have a shorter leash, and he needed to, like, right from the beginning, I think, catch everybody's attention and say, I'm different now. This is, you have to pay attention to me
You don't
now.
think defensively he has, or I mean, he did have that brilliant catch the first day.
Yeah, so one play we're going to make him a Gold Glover. I mean that's the thing. It's spring training is so short, and I don't know if he's going to have enough time to be able to impress people. He's learning a new position, and I know that he played in the outfield down in Oklahoma City, but obviously I think he needed more reps because he was playing second base in the major leagues, right? And all of a sudden you're going to throw him out in left field. I just feel like there was that minute there where, like, oh, are they really going to give Vargas a chance? And then when they bring in Kiké, I'm just like, there's no way Vargas. Like, now to me, it seems it's like a Michael Busch situation where if Vargas does play well, he's just being put on display to be traded. And look, I can't argue with them because the Kiké situation, he's a proven commodity, and the Dodgers, they have to play to win now. They have to, and I know the Dodgers are doing something that is very difficult in the sense that they're playing to win now, but at the same time, they continue to build on the farm system, continue to develop the farm system. But I just, when lost in all the excitement of Kiké coming back, I just thought, oh wow, Miguel Vargas, for like 2 seconds, you had a chance to win the left field, or not necessarily win it, but seriously be considered a left field option. And then once Kiké showed up, it's like, okay, Miguel, hopefully you just, things work out for you.
Well, and that might be where we do, again, injuries, baseball, it's going to happen to everybody. So maybe that is where either they get to come up in those capacities, or they do get traded at the deadline for any of the other pieces that we need to fill in. You just mentioned Kiké's $4 million contract. That just made me think of another former Dodger, Cody Bellinger, ended up signing a 3-year, $80 million contract. Went back to the Cubs, but that's a far cry from, I think, the 200 million he was shopping around, which again, out of the Boris four, he's the first one to drop. And I mean, yeah, it's a good contract. It's more than Kiké's getting right now. But it's just interesting to see how far into, the off season now into spring training, some of these players still haven't been signed. And then, Cody's taking a little bit of a hit. And it's even, I think the contract was a 1-year deal with options. So essentially it's kind of a 1-year deal with options to play for 3 years if he wants to continue or try his hand at free agency again.
That's right. So it's 3 years, 80 million, but he has opt-outs on the second and the third year. So he, in a sense, is betting on himself again. And this is going back to the Kiké thing, right?
Can you blame him?
Well, but and look, Cody is 28 years old, right? And that's a guy who I'm looking multiple years, and that's what he was looking for, and he didn't get it. So I don't know, again, if this is an example of the market correcting itself. I mean, look, I'm a little leery on Cody Bellinger because yes, he had a better season last year. But if you look at the second half of his numbers, there was a little bit of a dip there. And if I'm noticing that, I'm sure all 29 other teams other than the Cubs noticed that as well. And maybe there was hesitation. So again, it's one of those things where I know there's this narrative going around that now Scott Boras has lost. He's lost because his client didn't get whatever and who knows if that $200 million number was even real, right? But
True.
here's my question to you, Amy. Cody Bellinger last year made 17 million, I think.
17 and a half. Yeah.
17 and a half. So we don't know yet the numbers, or do we have the breakdown? Like how much would he be making in 2024?
So he'll get 30 million this year. If he wants to continue next year, he gets another 30 million. If he wants to opt into the third year, then he'll get 20 million. And I should have mentioned he also got a bonus last year, $1 million bonus for the winning the National League Comeback Player of the Year award. So technically, I guess he made 18 and a half. But yeah, it's a far cry from the 30 he's getting this year.
So this narrative that Boris lost, did he really lose? He got his client a raise. He went from 17.5 million to 30 million. So it's like, how are we measuring success? Are we measuring it on the fact, hey, dude, your salary went up, that's what a good thing is. That's what everybody wants. Or are we looking at it as it's not a success because he didn't get the multiple years?
And was that overinflated? Judging by the amount that he ended up taking, teams didn't agree with that. I mean, you've got other people shopping different players and paying the multi-year deals, the amounts that go with that. And then you've got, Cody Bellinger trying. He did have a good year last year, bet on himself and tried to take a shot and didn't get as much as was reported that he might have wanted. But he's still getting 80 million. He has it if he wants it.
This is how fucked up. I got why you got to call me out on that. This is how fucked up the world is, right? Because here's a guy getting $30 million and somehow we're trying to be like, how is this guy going to survive? How is he going to live? He's only getting 30 million for a year, right? And this is how the economics of baseball, I think, have just gone. It's like Alice in Wonderland, right? Where a guy who's getting 30 million a year, and now we're talking about it like, oh, he didn't get
poor guy.
Yeah,
Cody.
He didn't get enough, and it's like, come on. So I find it interesting that narrative there, but I want to, before we segue and actually talk about the games, I have to ask you this: the fact that there are still more Boris clients that haven't signed, Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery. I don't know if tell me if I'm wrong here. Is collusion just being a little over dramatic here? It seems like the owners are banding together and be like, we're not going to pay what they want. They have to come in at our number. Or is this just good business? Again, is this just the market correcting itself saying, look, we gave out ridiculous deals that we had no business giving out before, and now we're coming to our senses? Or is there some truth to like, hey, why aren't you guys paying these guys the way you were paying them before?
I think that it's not mutually exclusive. I think that can definitely be a factor. If they don't like the way that Boris does business, that you're going to see the owners, group together however they can. I mean, that's why they're all together in that aspect. And you've got the players on the other side with the MLB Players Association. I think players should get paid what they're worth. Even, I know we're throwing around like, this 4 million or 30 million. In my mind, they are getting paid that money because they are ruining their body. There is no way for 162 plus games a year that you're doing all of these repetitious movements, I should say, that's not going to have wear and tear on your body. These guys are 20s, mid 30s. By the time they hit their 40s, they're going to be older physically than some of us are. And I think they should be compensated for that. Whether it's, 200 million or 80 million, that's between the, the owners and the players themselves. And I think there is going to be some course correction. Some years it's going to be in favor of the players. Some years it's going to be in favor of the owners. And that's just the way the market goes.
You're so smart, Amy. I'm so glad that I get to do the show with you. So, I mean, look, for all you Dodger fans that were secretly hoping that the Dodgers would sign Cody Bellinger, That didn't happen, but hey, you got your consolation prize. Amy's boyfriend is back. So you guys got Kiké, and no one thought that was going to happen.
I thought it
Amy,
was going to happen.
yes, because she lit the candle, everyone. She lit the candle. Let's go over some of these games, spring training. So the Dodgers played 2 games over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, when we last left you. Actually, also Friday.
Yeah, there was
We
one on Friday too.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk on Friday. So let's talk about that game as well. And then we can also talk about the game on that happened today on Monday. Uh, look, just off the top of my head, I don't know what caught your eye, but for me, Landon Knack was a name that I had been hearing a lot in the Dodgers organization. And the fact that he's starting to become an older prospect always makes me, it catches my attention, so to speak. But he pitched 2 innings and he looked really good. And I was just like, I'm very eager to see what he looks like the next time around, because maybe this guy now is starting to take that next step, and maybe there is a possibility that sometime throughout this year we're going to see Landon Knack. Your thoughts on Landon Knack, Amy?
I mean, he was 3 up, 3 down in both innings. Like, he had 4 strikeouts overall. Somebody lined out, somebody popped up. But, like, I mean, as far as like your first outing goes, like, that's not bad. And the majority of these guys are only pitching an inning. So for him to get 2, he had a little bit longer leash to go. Like, great job. I mean, it would be great to see him more this year.
And look, and don't get me wrong, guys. I know that this is spring training. I mean, the Dodgers are undefeated in spring training. They're 4-0-1.
Which is
famous top.
different from last year, because last year everybody knew they were trying to test everybody out because of the year we were going to have. And so winning wasn't even on anybody's mind. It was like, all right, let's see what we can make work.
And we can't lose sight of that. It's called spring training for a reason. Like when everybody, and I know probably Padre fan right now is freaking out with the spring that Joe Musgrove is having, but it was obvious to me when Joe Musgrove was pitching against the Dodgers in that first game, he was specifically working on breaking pitches because that's all he threw was breaking pitches, and he just had no control of his breaking pitches.
Which is
So
probably why he was working on them. Huh.
So I'm not going to get caught up in the fact that, oh my God, the Dodgers 4-0. That means they're going to go 162-0 in the regular season. But I will say this: I think it's very encouraging that they're winning these games, and they're winning these games, a lot of these games, when the B team goes in, when these guys from the minor leagues, when these guys start to play. And I also never think it's a bad thing to get accustomed to winning. I think when you're consistently winning, it always like that fixes everything. And if you have a good feeling coming out of spring training, I think that will translate to the regular season. That being said, yeah, they were about 500, I think, last spring, and then they won 100 games. So this is all, in the end, it's all bullshit. But I thought I was very impressed with Landon Knack. So Amy just rolls her eyes at me a lot of the times when she
So
hears
optimistic for a second, and then you just shut yourself down. But
well, I'm a Libra. What do you want from my life? You know, I'm constantly, my whole life is this. So from that spectrum, right, we Landon Knack looked impressive. Tyler Glasnow on Saturday did not look as impressive. Now, for me, he was supposed to go 2 innings, and he went what is it? Did he go an inning and 2/3, or was it an inning and a third?
inning and a third. Yeah.
An inning and a third. And for me, what it seemed like was he was missing location. Everybody was talking about how, oh my God, he's pumping like 98, 99. These are major leaguers, man. If you don't hit your spots and you're throwing that fast, these guys can hit it. And that's what it looked like. But again, the same way you can't get too high with Landon Knack, I don't think you can get too low with Tyler Glasnow, because this is a guy who we're all expecting to have a big year with the Dodgers.
It was his first game too. Like that, I think that's what we tend to lose sight of too, is like, oh, this guy's in, or, even from an offensive standpoint, like, oh, so and so is hitting. Oh gosh, he hasn't hit the ball at all, or, he keeps striking out. And it's just like, some of these guys, they're not playing every day. some of the pitchers, this is the first time they're in a game, and it's just like you said, we're just stretching them out. So we don't know if it was like a Musgrove situation where it's like, okay, well, maybe Glasnow was working on this with the trainers of like, okay, well, when you go out there, we want you focused on this, come what may. Maybe they're not like, hey, go lights out. We want to make sure you can sit everybody down right away. So I mean, I don't think it was the worst outing. They were able to control it. Nobody scored on him. I mean, he had 2 singles, a walk. Somebody lined out. He got 1 strikeout, and you had that one amazing double play where Mookie just came in from behind. I think it was they caught it in right field, threw it into first base, and the runner wasn't back yet, and so Mookie just kind of snuck up behind and was able to get him out at first. So some pretty amazing plays, even just in the first couple days.
So what you're saying is I shouldn't be excited that James Outman and Max Muncy hit home runs on Sunday?
No, probably not.
Look, for me, the Outman one for Outman to start off like this, I think he needs to have a good spring too because of the sophomore slump.
To be fair, it was really hard to keep a straight face and not be positive there. So I don't know how you do this all the time because
Care Bear stare, baby. Care Bear stare, baby.
I was excited they hit those home runs. I was really proud of them.
Well, I mean, everybody's making such a big deal about how Max Muncy's in good shape and like everybody's expecting these things. So early on, there's these narratives that are being established where if you see people responding to it, and like I said, with James Outman, it's the sophomore slump and the fact that his year was such a roller coaster last year, and now they have tape on you, and it's like it's all a game of adjustments, right? He started off on fire, then the league made an adjustment, then he made an adjustment back, and that's what it's going to be, right? So
Bellinger went through the same thing. He had that stellar first year, and then people got used to him, and he struggled after they kind of had his number at the plate. I think that's just baseball, and everybody has to overcome that.
Right, and that's the difference between being a major leaguer, right? And having a career that can last 10 years, sticking around that long. Another thing I want to address, Gavin Lux actually played shortstop on Monday. And I think these are all about psychological wins for Gavin Lux. He prior to that, he had played in a couple of games as a DH. This is the first time he's been on the field, and again, he said he felt good, and it was just a matter of just getting out there. I think trusting that knee, trusting that nothing is going to go wrong. So I think I'm curious to see if they'll put him back at shortstop again, or if they'll give him a game where he's going to go back to DH. I'm always curious as to how they're going to go ahead and manage that.
I mean, there's a lot of moving parts right now. Like I'm just looking at all my scorecards right now of how these guys did over the weekend. And like
for those of you guys who missed it, a nerd alert, Amy keeps score. And I know one of our listeners reached out to me and said, damn, Amy's intense. She went back and she watched a spring training game. And not only did she watch it, she scored it. That's right. Amy has how many scorecards do you have there? 4 or 5?
I have 4 because the other one we already talked about. So these are my 4 from Friday to today.
Nerd alert.
Yep, it's true. I cannot deny it. If I had my glasses on right now, I'd push them up my nose. But I mean, that aside, like these guys did great. Even Mookie Betts, I'm really looking forward to that narrative flipping on him of people kind of just leaving him alone and realizing that he is the caliber player that he is, that he came in, second in the MVP voting for the National League. Like he had a pretty decent game today where, he struck out in his first at bat, but he doubled the second time around and drove in a run. He walked before he ended up getting pulled out of the game. Like he had a really great game. And Freddie Freeman walked, and then he had an RBI single, and then I think he only played for like 39 minutes before they pulled him out of the game and then replaced him with a string of players. So even our veteran players are getting some good time in stretching out.
All right, so we are almost 50 minutes into this episode, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we've mentioned Shohei Ohtani yet.
I was
But
just about to because I have a really good stat. Go on.
all right, here we go. Let go to your stat. I was just going to say Shohei's actually going to play in a game on Tuesday. So be prepared. MLB Network has already said they're going to show the game. So prepare your social media timelines, everybody, because it's going to be the Shohei Ohtani show on Tuesday. Amy, what stat do you have for Shohei?
So in the middle of today's game, Tim Neverett and Rick Monday were just talking about him debuting in spring training tomorrow. And we know that, everybody's been kind of wondering what the batting order would be. And Freddie Freeman has been politely just kind of teasing it, but saying that he didn't want to reveal Shohei's actual, his schedule. And so Tim Neverett and Rick Monday were talking about in MLB history, there has been 351,956 regular season games. And only 12 games throughout that entire time have had 3 MVPs hitting in this lineup at the same time. So, and they even repeated it twice, or at least my feed might have doubled back. I don't know. But it was 351,956 games, only 12 games with 3 MVPs. And we're going to see one of those games at spring training, not a regular season game, but we're still going to see one of those games tomorrow. Like, how awesome is that?
Not only that, but it was announced that it looks like Yamamoto will be pitching on Wednesday's game. So things are going to get a little crazy if they're not. I mean, this whole time it's been crazy. I know there were huge crowds. It seems like the Sunday game when they played the A's, it didn't look that full in the stands, but at Camelback, you never know because everybody was probably walking around the grounds looking for Shohei. But this has been another jam-packed episode of Baseball Shangri LA. Amy, do you have any last words?
Kiké's back. That's it. That's all I got.
We're lucky that this episode didn't just turn into a whole Kiké, just 50 minutes straight of just talking about Kiké.
All Kiké all the time. Go on.
Exactly. So again, guys, we remind you, please follow us on social media. On X, you can follow us at BB Shangri LA. On Instagram, Threads, and Twitch, we are on Baseball Shangri LA. That way you can get updates on when we drop next episodes because, like I said, we're still not committed to a schedule yet. We're still figuring things out. As Amy likes to say, you're on the journey with us. If you're on the YouTube, please make sure you're subscribed. Leave us comments, leave us reviews, help spread the word about Baseball Shangri LA. That's going to do it for another episode of Baseball Shangri LA. You've been watching, you've been listening to it. We can't thank you enough. Amy, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.